Let's talk about what you really want. Not what feels safe or sensible, what you want. Because even if you've just been laid off, passed over for promotion, or find yourself wondering if you're behind, I want you to hear this. It's not too late. And you haven't missed your moment. You want a life where your work matters, where you're seen as a leader, not just reliable, but respected. Where you're not grinding out 60-hour weeks for someone else's vision, but doing work that lights you up and lets you lead. You want to be compensated accordingly, not just because you deserve it, but because you're darn good at what you do. And you want to have the authority and power to make decisions with confidence. You want the title that reflects your ability, the salary that supports your lifestyle, and the impact that makes it all worthwhile. You want more than balance. You want fulfillment, purpose, influence. You want your voice to carry weight in rooms you used to only observe. You want to lead change, shape culture, and mentor others. You want to feel proud of your contributions and not constantly question whether they're being noticed. And you want a life outside of work that feels alive, where you're not constantly recovering from your week, where you have time to travel when you want to move your body, to be present with your people. You want joy and power, ease and ambition. You want to live up to your potential and not settle for a version of success that quietly exhausts you. But the moment you start to reach for that, a voice creeps in. Just be grateful for what you have. You can't have it all. Anyway, you're too late. This is just what life looks like now. That voice is the story you've been telling yourself, or the one you were handed. And today we're going to start rewriting it because, yes, you should be grateful. This is a very important place to start. And then from there, you build. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through 4 powerful steps to help you break free from the internal stories that have been limiting your ambition, shrink wrapping your dreams, and keeping you in a smaller life than the one you're meant for. And if you want to go even deeper, I invite you to grab my free training, Get Unstuck and Move Forward with Confidence, where I teach the full framework to help you get clear, get grounded, and design what's next. And you can find a link to the training in the description. But let's start right here. The first step is to spot the old script. Before you can write a new chapter, you have to understand the narrative that you've been living in. And look, we all carry stories, often invisible, inherited, or internalized, that quietly limit what we think we're allowed to want. So you might find that you're telling yourself things like, well, if I haven't made it by now, I probably never will. Or I can either make money or do something meaningful, but not both. Or perhaps you say, if I want flexibility, I have to give up ambition. Or they passed me over for promotion because I wasn't ready. Maybe I'm just not leadership material. Or alternatively, they're never going to promote me, but I have a good job, so I guess that's okay. Does any of that sound familiar? These stories don't sound dramatic, do they? They sound reasonable, and that's what makes them so sneaky. They convince you to settle, to stay quiet, to lower your expectations, and to stay safe. And it's true, you probably have a lot of responsibility, and we are certainly not talking about blowing up your life. We're talking about empowering you to make decisions that serve you and the dreams you quietly hold. Because when you start to say these stories out loud, when you actually hear yourself, something shifts. You start to realize, I'm not sure this story is actually true. It's just familiar. So here's your invitation. Pause, reflect, ask yourself, what story have I been telling myself about what's possible for me? This is the unlock that was key for one of my clients, and I'll call her Nicole. Nicole is a researcher with a degree from a top 10 school, a mother of 2 young children with another on the way, and the primary caregiver to a child with significant medical needs. She loves her work and believes deeply in its purpose. And she also finds great joy in parenting and in her community. She's highly organized, deeply committed, and she's used to managing a lot. But she came to me with a familiar tension. She said she struggled with balance, and she wasn't particularly wealthy, but she acknowledged that they could probably afford for her not to work. But she loves her work, and she loves it so much that she wanted to be able to feel equally productive and accomplished in all parts of her life. But here's the thing. We did not have to go far into our coaching journey together before we figured out that what she wanted was very attainable, but only if she could rewrite the story she was telling herself. And I'll go into more on that later. So the next step for you, step 2, is to interrupt the lies with truth. Once you've spotted the old script, it's time to challenge it. Not with blind optimism, but with evidence. Ask yourself, what have I done that proves I'm ready for more? What moments have shown me that I'm a leader, even if I haven't had the title yet? What strengths do people consistently rely on me for? When have I risen in the face of challenge? So I want you to reframe. I want you to look back because you might say, if I look back, I've navigated so much. I managed that reorg with no support, or I kept the team from falling apart. I led strategy on a multi-million-dollar account, or I've coached new managers or advocated for my team. I've made smart decisions under pressure. Why am I still waiting for someone to choose me? I've been leading all along. If you look back, I bet you can see where you've navigated so much, whether it's been post-college transition to the workforce, managing projects, leading teams, coaching others, holding responsibility for multi-million-dollar deals. The list goes on and on. The lie says you're not ready. The truth says you've already proven that you are. And that truth, it's the foundation for something bigger. It starts rebuilding your sense of self from the inside out, not based on titles or feedback or validation, but on your lived experience, on what's already true. This is where confidence begins to shine because it comes from proof. It's just pattern recognition. From realizing you are more powerful than you've been taught to believe. And then the third step I want you to do is to visualize a future that aligns with your values and your dreams. So now that we've cleared some mental space, let's fill it in with something better. Let's dream boldly, unapologetically. Let's say it plainly. You want more, and you're allowed to want more. You want to be the one shaping strategy, not just executing on someone else's vision. You want to be in the right rooms. You want a seat at the table. You want leadership to seek you out. They want your perspective because they know that you bring clarity, depth, and results. And you want to be promoted, not just because of tenure, but because you are a force, because you've earned it. You want a role that matches your skills, ability, experience, and contribution. Director, VP, SVP, C-suite, board member. A role that stretches you in the best way, where you're learning, growing, and influencing something bigger than you. And you want compensation that reflects your value. You want your life around that work to not burn you out. You want flexibility, autonomy, and time to enjoy what you've built. You want to travel. You want to spend time with the people that matter to you most. You want to work out, to rest, to mentor, to explore, to feel alive, not just useful. You want impact and income. You want vision and voice. You want to feel proud, not just exhausted. And you want to wake up and think, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. And this, my friend, is not too much to want. And it's available to you as a talented, ambitious, high-performing woman who has always shown up for others and is now ready to show up for herself. And that vision, that dream, it doesn't have to live in the someday file. We bring it to life inside the Get Unstuck and Move Forward with Confidence training. Not just with mindset, but with method, a framework, a plan, one that helps you translate desire into direction. And then in step 4, I invite you to rewrite and reclaim your story. So now that we've cracked open the possibilities, it's time to reclaim the pen, to stop quoting the old script and start writing a new one. So ask yourself, what do I want to believe about myself now? Not what you think you're allowed to believe, what you need to believe to take the next bold step. And this was the case with my client, Nicole. Her struggle wasn't really about time. It was about the internal story she was telling herself. That balance means doing everything perfectly every day. And if she wasn't, she was failing. And it was also about old scripts she had developed in childhood around performance, her value, and her worth. And I'll tell you, this is something I see all the time with high achievers. They come to me stuck in making a decision during a career change or personal transition, or they are overwhelmed and say they need more balance, more control over their schedule, and freedom. And while these things are often a part of the struggle, the real issue is inevitably rooted, at least in part, in a story they are telling themselves about success, prestige, self-worth, money, or value, or some combination, and usually a story grounded in the past. But with structured guidance and support, I see the eyes of high-achieving women open to the full range of possibilities available to them and the significant power and authority they have to create life on their own terms. And if you're saying must be nice, that's just not my story. Let me just say I have yet to work with a high-achieving woman for whom some version of this was not true. They just needed to walk through a process to let go of the old story and rewrite a new one. And when that shift happens, it's like magic. That's when women say things like, I'm not here to play small or wait to be chosen. I'm here to lead, to build, to own my next chapter. This is the kind of shift that changes careers, heals relationships, amplifies leadership strength, and changes lives. And look, this isn't because you snapped your fingers and your dreams came true, but because you stopped playing a role that no longer fits and started stepping into who you actually are. So what's your new story? Say it, write it, share it. Let it shape what you say yes to and what you finally say no to. And if you want help turning that story into a strategy, I've got you. I invite you to grab my free training, Get Unstuck and Move Forward with Confidence. It's an on-demand experience where I walk you through the process I use in my coaching to help ambitious, high-performing women get clear, get grounded, and take action, even when everything feels uncertain. You'll learn how to name and rewrite the story that's been keeping you stuck, how to clarify what you actually want, not just what you think is possible, and to envision a roadmap for what's next with confidence and with intention. So this is for you if you're ready to lead, not just your team, but your life. Click the link in the description to learn more about this free training. You haven't peaked. You're not too late, and you're certainly not asking for too much. You're asking for more because you're ready. So let's begin. Until next time.